Hello everyone, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome to another God of War Ragnarok news update video. And today, we got some pretty interesting and, dare I say, quite some spicy news via Twitter, revealing two characters that we have heard quite a bit of. Thrud, the daughter of Thor, and half-sisters of Magni and Modi, as well as Lady Sif of Asgard. Two characters that have been mentioned quite a fair bit in the last few weeks. So, how did this get revealed? Is this artwork we see actually real, or was it fan-made? And how much will translate over into the game? So in today's video, I will be touching on a number of different things. But before we do begin, guys, as always, I would super appreciate it if, before things kicked off, we could get this video to about 1,000 likes. You guys have been killing it recently, and I super duper appreciate it. And if you like what we do here, and wish to stay up to date with all things God of War news related, please don't forget to subscribe, as well as tick that bell. Without any further ado, let's talk about this photo, and what does it mean? What exactly is going on here? Well, on the 11th of October, Santa Monica Studios put out a tweet saying the following: "The Aesir rule the 9 realms from Asgard with an iron fist. Odin is fixated on power and knowledge. His son, Thor, heads a family of strong warriors who remain fiercely loyal to each other." Our family portrait was illustrated by iconic manga artist Sotonami. So this is a pretty big reveal by all intents and purposes, because if we actually look at the photo itself, going from right to left, we of course see Thor, followed by who we believe to be, and first appearance mind you, his daughter Thrud, Magni, Modi, Balder, and then a blonde woman. This of course being Lady Sif, who has been referenced a few times, and has been known to have very luscious blonde locks. Now before we begin to break down this picture, let's actually talk about the artist first, to give you an idea that this simply wasn't just any artist they reached out to, as whilst the artist is tagged as Sotonami, the artist's actual name is Sui Ishida. Now for those that may not be familiar with manga or art that originates from the East, Ishida is actually quite well known for being the author and artist behind the infamous Tokyo Ghoul series, having worked on it and its many sequels from 2011 up until 2018. Along with this, he has done a bit of work for Hunter x Hunter. So Ishida is by no means just someone they reached out to. This is a pretty damn big name in Eastern manga media. And in his tweet, he does say the following: "In collaboration with Santa Monica Studios and PlayStation, I was allowed to draw a portrait of God of War Ragnarok's Aesir. Check out other artist portraits. I hope you enjoy the world of Ragnarok." Now, of course, one of the big takeaways from this here is the possibility that Santa Monica may have reached out to a few other artists to draw up beautiful artwork for Ragnarok pre-release. But then again, there's always the possibility this very well could be a mistranslation from Google, but otherwise, things look like they could get very exciting as the weeks do pass. Now with the two tweets covered, I want to hone in on the phrase collaboration, as this may indicate that these two character portrait designs could actually be of the official character models we may see in game, and they may not just be artistic interpretations of what these characters look like. Currently, it's impossible to say just how official these designs are, but their very appearance in this portrait is important for a number of different reasons, outside of just how they look. But before we do that, let's touch on Thrud's and Sif's design. Now going from left to right this time, let's first touch on Sif. Now, in terms of visual design, she is a very beautiful and fair woman, wearing a blue dress, a single-sleeved overcoat, and of course, her well-known golden hair. Along with this, we have the modern-day Nordic Aesir tattoos that have been branded on her right sleeve, shoulder, and collar. So visually, there isn't anything too crazy going on with Lady Sif here, although I will say she is the first official Aesir goddess we do meet. Now moving over to the right, we do have Thrud. And unfortunately, we don't see very much of her design at all, actually making it quite hard to see what she does look like. Now, I know there has been some debate that this could be Freya, as Balder is also here, and I'm not going to entirely dismiss this idea, but I want to point out two things here. The markings and tattoos on the right side of her arm are not reminiscent of the ones we did see in God of War 2018. I have heard some try to say that these are markings of a Valkyrie, reminiscent of what Freya had, but that is actually wrong, because at the start of the 2018 game, these markings are not there on Freya. They only start to return during the end half of the game, where she begins to get more in touch with Cedar magic and Huvania goddess ways. But there always is the possibility that Thrud could just end up being a Valkyrie, as we know that this title is obtainable for already established characters, and even a Germanic goddess in Norse mythology was granted wings of a Valkyrie. And going back on people suspecting that this might be Freya, I do want to point out that Thor actually has a pretty bad relationship with Freya, because at some point, following Jotunheim cutting itself off, Mjolnir would be stolen by a giant king, only promising to return it for Freya's hand in marriage. Now, initially, the plan was for Freya to disguise Thor in her appearance, and then for him to retrieve the hammer and come back home. But instead, the Odinson went on a bloody rampage in her name, something that understandably horrified her. So, in a swift flick of her hand, she was able to bring Thor back. But despite her wishes to quell the slaughter, this was largely seen as a huge betrayal between Thor and Odin. And ever since then, the two have been on extremely bad terms. So again, whilst this very well could be Freya, I wish to point out that this portrait is supposed to be focused around people that Thor considers family, which is why I think the inclusion of Thrud and Sif is so incredibly important here, especially when we take into account the most recent interview with Ryan Hurst, the voice actor of Thor. I highly do recommend you check out this video, as I do go a bit more in depth there. But in short, it looks like in Ragnarok, they are going for a tragic monster approach when it comes to writing Thor's character, where he's a god tortured by his own alcoholism and glory, as it has led to the death of many, possibly including one of his sons, Modi. With that said, we do know that he is attempting to become sober for his family, specifically Odin, Sif, and Thrud, which was revealed in the Ryan Hurst interview. So it does seem like the two will be playing more of a supportive role for the Odinson. Personally, I'm intrigued to see how this is all weaved for the eventual downfall of Thor. With that being said, what makes Sif and Thrud important in Norse mythology? Well, sadly, both Thrud and Sif, for the most part, are minor characters, especially in the grand calculus of Ragnarok, as Sif is largely just relegated as the wife of Thor, and even Thrud herself, whilst given a pretty important mantle of being the goddess of strength she is relatively untouched in its Nordic texts. But this can all largely work to the favor of all of these characters. Since they are so underdeveloped, you can give them new personality and traits that deviate away from its Nordic source material, much like I had said with Thrud becoming a Valkyrie. There's multiple different ideas and angles that could really work to the benefit of both Sif and Thrud's character, and I think this all helps really paint a picture of the dysfunction and different characters that exist in the Odinson bloodline. Whilst the Allfather is clearly mad, it's very clear that characters aren't either good or bad. They live in a morally grey section, one that makes it really difficult to brand them as straight up evil. And with this deep and very interesting change of character for Thor, no longer just being seen as a bloody bastard, but instead a god crippled by alcoholism and violence, we now begin to see everything with a different lens. With that noted, I am very much so invested to see what Thrud and Sif add to the family dynamic of the Odinson bloodline. Now, in the comments below, what do you actually think about 1. This artwork? 2. Do you think these are the official designs? And 3. What do you think will be the dynamic that Thrud and Sif will add to this game for Thor? Because I like this route that they're taking that allows us to paint each character in a different light. Please do comment down below. But for now, everyone, this has been it for me. So as always, everyone, stay strong, stay well, and keep on fighting, as Ragnarok is less than a month away. Take care, everyone. I'll see you soon.